Welcome to your deep dive all about the future of work. We're going to explore the rise of the hybrid professional, the evolving roles of HR and managers, and how software engineers can really build their digital brand in this new world of work.
It looks like you've been doing a ton of research on this too.
I have, yeah, and actually a great place to start is with this book, Humanity Elevated, Future-Proofing Your Career by Mo Marlone.
Yeah, this is a good one.
What I found interesting is that Lone actually wrote this book in Crestwood, Kentucky.
Mm.
Not exactly, Silicon
At
Valley.
a big tech hub.
Right, right. So it kind of shows that this whole future of work thing, it's not just a tech industry phenomenon. It's really impacting all industries everywhere.
Absolutely. And the book doesn't just throw you into the deep end of the future. Lone actually starts by taking us way back, tracing the evolution of work from the first industrial revolution all the way to today.
Yeah, I really like that historical perspective. It shows how much work has already changed and how much faster things are changing now.
Yeah, think about it. Like the first industrial revolution with mechanization and factories, that was in the late 1700s.
Right.
And then the second industrial revolution with mass production and electricity, that kind of built on that in the 1800s.
Right, but then things started to speed up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The third revolution with computers and automation, that all happened in the 20th century.
Yeah.
And now, think about it, we're already in the fourth revolution, and that's where digital, physical, and biological systems are all merging.
It's like AI, robotics, biotechnology.
Huh.
It's mind-blowing.
I know.
It's crazy how the time between these revolutions is shrinking.
Yeah.
We're not talking centuries anymore, it's just decades.
Exactly.
And Lone's point is, this acceleration is only going to continue.
Right. And with AI and machine learning advancing so rapidly, the way we work is changing fundamentally. It's not just about new jobs being created, it's about entirely new ways of working.
It is. And I think one of the biggest changes we're seeing is this rise of the hybrid professional.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And there was one report you sent over from the Workplace Evolution Institute that actually coined that term.
Yeah, and I think it's really crucial to understand because the hybrid professional isn't just someone who works from home a few days a week.
Right, it's not just about location.
It's about a whole new blend of technical skills and this human excellence.
Yes. Think about someone who can analyze data sets, but also communicate those insights with empathy and clarity.
So it's not about being a robot who can code.
Exactly.
It's about being a human who can use those skills in a meaningful way.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's where those human skills, communication, problem solving, collaboration, all that stuff becomes even more important.
Exactly. And the Workplace Evolution Institute outlines 5, core attributes of the hybrid professional.
Yeah.
Technical human integration, cross-domain expertise, virtual physical fluency, adaptive leadership capability, and continuous learning.
That's helpful.
Yeah. So let's break these down a little bit.
Okay.
Starting with that first one, technical human integration. What does that actually look like in practice?
Okay. So imagine a marketing manager, and they can not only analyze, all the social media data to understand customer trends, but they can also take that and craft compelling stories that resonate with customers, on an emotional level.
So it's about more than just knowing how to use the tools.
Right.
It's about understanding the human element behind the data.
Yeah, the why behind the what. It's super important, especially as AI is taking on more and more of those, routine tasks.
Right, exactly. So then there's this cross-domain expertise, which is the ability to kind of work across different fields and disciplines.
Yeah, think about a software engineer who can also collaborate with designers and marketers.
Yeah.
And business analysts.
Yeah.
To develop a really user-centered product.
So it sounds like the lines between, traditional job roles are blurring. People need to be more adaptable and versatile.
Totally. And that's where the next attribute comes in, virtual physical fluency.
Okay.
The hybrid professional needs to be able to work seamlessly in both virtual and physical environments.
Right.
They can lead a virtual team meeting just as effectively as they can facilitate an in-person brainstorming session.
Which makes a lot of sense with the rise of remote and hybrid work models.
Yeah.
But that probably takes a different set of leadership skills.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where adaptive leadership capability is so important.
Okay.
The hybrid professional needs to be able to adapt their leadership style based on the situation, the team, and the goals.
Right. So it's being flexible, responsive.
Exactly.
And then the last attribute is continuous learning.
Yes. I mean, the world of work is evolving so quickly that you constantly need to be learning new knowledge and skills to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah. This all paints a pretty clear picture of the kind of professional who will thrive in the future. But how do we actually develop these skills? Like, where do we even begin?
Right. Well, one framework we have from the Digital Skills Institute outlines 5 core components of digital literacy that are really essential for anyone working in the digital age.
Okay, great. So what are they?
So we have technical fluency, data competency, security awareness, digital communication, and technical problem solving.
Okay, so 5 components. Let's start with technical fluency.
Okay.
It sounds pretty straightforward, but what does it actually mean in the context of, today's workplace?
Well, it's really about going beyond just knowing how to use a computer. It's about understanding the underlying technologies that kind of power the digital world, like cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and even cybersecurity.
So imagine a marketer who understands the basics of how algorithms work.
Yeah,
They can use that to optimize social media campaigns.
exactly. So it's about being digitally savvy, not just digitally functional.
Makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
what about data competency?
Okay, data competency. This is becoming more and more crucial, even for people who aren't in traditional technical roles.
Right, like those HR professionals and managers that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, exactly. And this framework, it breaks down data competency into 4 key steps.
Okay.
First one is information processing. This is where you gather, clean, and organize data from tons of different sources.
So think of an HR professional who wants to analyze, employee engagement. They might collect data from surveys, performance reviews, and even social media.
Yeah, all that stuff. So it's not just about collecting data, it's about making sure that data is good and that it's usable.
Right. Then there's analytics interpretation.
Exactly. And that's where you actually make sense of all that data, right? You're identifying trends, patterns, and those key insights.
So in the HR example, this would be like looking for correlations between work practices and employee satisfaction scores.
Yes. So it's really about seeing the story that the data is telling.
I like that.
And then once you understand that story, you need to be able to communicate it, right? That's where visualization understanding comes in. And this involves presenting the data in a way that's super clear and compelling and easy to understand.
Like charts and graphs.
Yeah, charts, graphs, infographics, anything that brings the data to life.
So those human communication skills come back into play again.
Totally, even in a data-driven world.
Right. Okay. And then we have data-driven decision-making.
Yeah, that's the final step. So this is where you actually use all those data insights to make, smart, informed decisions. It could be anything from adjusting a marketing strategy to revamping a hiring process.
So it's about closing the loop. Data is not just for analysis, it's for action.
Exactly. And this framework is not just for data scientists and analysts. It's relevant for anyone who's working with data to make decisions in marketing and sales, HR, management, really anyone.
Right. So we've talked about technical fluency and data competency. What about those other 3 components of digital literacy?
Right. So security awareness. This is super important. It's more important than ever in this interconnected world. The hybrid professional needs to understand the basics of cybersecurity, how to protect data and devices and how to spot those potential threats.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with so many people working remotely and handling sensitive information online, it's non-negotiable now.
Totally. Okay, and then we have digital communication. And this goes beyond just knowing how to send emails or post on social media, right?
Yeah.
It's about understanding online etiquette, building strong relationships virtually, and being able to communicate effectively across a ton of different digital channels.
It's almost like being a good digital citizen.
Yeah, I like that.
And then finally, we have technical problem solving.
Right, which is being able to identify and solve those technical problems. And this is super valuable for anyone, but especially for software engineers and anyone in a tech-driven role.
For sure. So it sounds like these 5 components of digital literacy are really the foundation for being successful in the digital age.
Yeah.
If you want to be a hybrid professional and thrive in this whole rapidly changing world of work.
And mastering all of this will not only make you a more valuable employee, but it will also empower you to take control of your career and shape your own future.
Speaking of shaping the future, one thing that's becoming more and more important is building a strong digital brand. And I know we have some research from Stanford on that.
Yeah, their research on virtual work really highlights how important your online presence can be.
It's like your digital footprint is becoming like an extension of your professional identity.
It really is. And the Stanford study, it breaks down virtual success into three areas: digital presence management, virtual team dynamics, and digital leadership skills.
Okay, let's dig into those a little bit. Starting with digital presence management.
Okay.
What does that even entail?
So, digital presence management is about being intentional with how you present yourself online, basically.
Yeah.
It's about crafting a consistent narrative across your digital platforms, really showcasing your expertise, your values, your unique contributions.
So it's not just about having a LinkedIn profile. It's about using it in a way that builds your professional brand.
Exactly. You need to optimize your profile, share valuable content, and really build a network of meaningful connections.
This sounds like a lot of effort and thought. It's not just posting selfies.
Yeah. No, it's not just random updates. It's about being intentional and curating your presence to reflect your goals.
Okay. And then what about virtual team dynamics? How do we build strong relationships and actually collaborate well when we're not physically together?
Right. Well, it requires a different approach. You need to be more proactive in how you communicate, really focus on building trust, and be mindful of time zones and those cultural differences.
It definitely takes more effort than just popping into someone's office for a quick chat.
Yeah. But the good news is there are tools and techniques we can use to collaborate well virtually, like video conferencing to build rapport, using project management software, being mindful of different communication styles.
Right. And the third area you mentioned, digital leadership skills, that seems crucial too.
Yeah, it really is, because leading virtually is different than traditional leadership. It's about inspiring and motivating a team remotely. It's about fostering a sense of community and providing direction, even when you're not physically there.
So it's about being a leader who can navigate the complexities of the digital workplace and build a strong virtual team culture.
And there's a good book on this, Personal Brand in a Digital Age. They outline 6 key elements of building a digital brand:
Okay, what are they?
digital identity, brand strategy, content creation, platform presence, engagement, and measurement.
Okay. I'm really curious about the digital identity part.
Okay.
Like, how do we establish an authentic digital presence?
It starts with defining your personal brand. What are your unique skills and strengths, your values, your passions?
Right.
What do you want to be known for?
Mm.
Once you have that sense of your brand, you can start building your online identity around that.
So it's about being genuine, authentic, not trying to be someone you're not.
Exactly. And then you need a brand strategy. How are you going to communicate that brand online? What platforms, what kind of content?
Like you're building a business.
Right. You need a plan, a strategy,
Yeah, for sure.
and then you need to create high quality content that resonates. Could be blog posts, articles, videos, infographics, even just thoughtful comments.
Content is king.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then you got to make sure that content is visible on the right platforms.
Right.
LinkedIn, Twitter, maybe niche industry forums, it depends.
So it's about choosing the platforms where your audience is, basically.
Exactly. Then there's engagement.
Hmm.
It's not enough to just create and share stuff. You got to actually engage with people, respond to comments, and build relationships.
You have to be active, not passive.
Yeah. And then the final thing is to measure your results. Are you reaching your target audience? Is your content resonating? By tracking your progress, you can adjust your strategy and make sure you're on the right track.
Okay, so we've talked about building a digital brand. But how do we make this practical? Like, what are some things our listeners can do right now to get started?
One great starting point is to really focus on building relationships online. Humanity Elevated, it actually outlines 3 phases: establishing your credibility, having those value-added interactions, and then actively maintaining those relationships.
It's about being more than just a name on a screen.
Exactly. You need to show your expertise, be helpful, be engaging, and connect with people in a genuine way.
And a platform like LinkedIn is really good for that, right?
Yeah. Optimizing your profile, sharing insights, engaging with your network.
So the key takeaway here is that your digital brand isn't just about promoting yourself. It's about building a community and establishing yourself as someone valuable.
And remember, the specific tools and platforms are going to vary depending on your industry and goals.
Absolutely. The important thing is to be strategic and intentional. Think about your goals, think about your audience, and the best way to connect with them authentically.
And consistency is key. Building a strong digital brand takes time.
It does. But the payoff can be big.
Oh, yeah.
So we've covered a lot. We went from the historical context of work evolution to the rise of the hybrid professional to the importance of building your digital brand.
Yeah. A lot of information.
And next, we're going to take a closer look at how these trends are impacting specific roles, like HR, managers, and software engineers.
Yes, we'll explore how each of those roles is changing and what skills they need to thrive in this digital world.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to your deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about the rise of the hybrid professional and all the skills they need to thrive.
Yeah, now I'm kind of curious to see how all of this plays out in like specific roles. You mentioned that we'd be talking about HR professionals, managers, and software engineers. So let's start with HR. It seems like their role has already been changing a lot, even before this whole future of work thing.
You're right, and Humanity Elevated actually uses this really interesting term, human capital strategists. It really highlights how HR is going beyond just those, administrative tasks to becoming much more strategic
Yeah,
and data-driven.
that makes sense. I can see how like data analytics would be super important for understanding workforce trends and, even using AI tools for hiring.
Exactly. Imagine an HR professional who can use data to actually identify like potential cultural issues before they become a problem.
Wow.
They could analyze employee feedback, social media sentiment, even just patterns in communication to get a sense of the overall mood of the workforce.
That's incredible. It's almost like they're becoming cultural architects, shaping the workplace environment to be more inclusive, productive, and really aligned with company values.
Oh, I love that. Cultural architects. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But to do that effectively, they really need to like fully embrace those data competency skills that we talked about earlier. It's not just spreadsheets anymore. It's about being comfortable with data visualization, predictive analytics, and even AI platforms.
It's a whole new world.
It is.
Speaking of new worlds, what about managers? How are their roles adapting to this changing landscape? I remember one of the reports you sent over talked about adaptive leaders, which seems very fitting.
Adaptive leaders is a great way to put it. Managers now have to be super flexible and agile, able to lead effectively in both virtual and physical environments.
Yeah, because, think about it. Managing a team that's spread out across different time zones,
You know,
different cultures, different work preferences,
a whole different ballgame.
than managing a team in one office.
Totally.
It's not just about like assigning tasks anymore. It's about fostering a sense of community and purpose.
Right, even when you're not physically there.
Exactly.
Managers need to be like coaches, mentors, even cultural ambassadors. They need to build that trust and connection remotely
Yeah.
and be masters of digital communication, understanding how to convey tone and nuance through text or video chat.
Right. And they need to be comfortable with like a more collaborative and decentralized way of leading.
Yes. It's less about command and control and more about empowering the team to make decisions and, take ownership.
It's a whole new way of thinking about leadership.
It is.
Now, I'm super curious about how this all impacts software engineers because they're already at the forefront of like the technological revolution. But it seems like their roles are changing even more.
Oh, definitely. And Humanity Elevated talks about how software engineers can't just focus on code anymore. They have to think about the bigger picture, the ethical implications, the potential biases, and like the societal consequences.
So they have to be philosophers as well as engineers.
Kind of, the best software engineers are integrating that human-centered design thinking into their process.
Yeah.
They're thinking about the user experience, the accessibility, all those unintended consequences.
That's a huge responsibility.
It is, but it's also an amazing opportunity to really shape the future.
It is.
And this ties back to that idea of building a strong digital brand. A software engineer who can show this kind of, holistic thinking, who can communicate clearly and who is actually like engaged in the broader tech community, that's the kind of person who's going to stand out.
Right. So it's not just about their coding skills. It's those human skills that'll really set them apart in the age of AI.
Totally. And it's not just about getting a job, it's about your whole career, constantly learning, evolving, adapting to new roles.
Right. And that's where continuous learning comes in. It's like we need to develop this future-proof mindset, one that embraces change and sees the opportunity in all this disruption.
I think you've got it. It's not about resisting change. It's about anticipating it and shaping it. Humanity Elevated talks about building a career that's not just future-proof, but like future-ready.
I like that.
It's about having a growth mindset, seeking out new knowledge, and even considering a portfolio career.
That's a really empowering perspective. It's not about being like a victim of change. It's about creating your own destiny.
And remember, this isn't just about you succeeding. It's about all of us working together to build a future where technology elevates our potential.
Yeah, and Lone actually sums this up really well. He says, the future is not something we enter. The future is something we create together, with wisdom, justice, and humanity at its core.
That's so good.
That's a really powerful quote. The future is not something we enter. The future is something we create together, with wisdom, justice, and humanity at its core. It really, reframes this whole idea of the future of work. It's
Mm.
less about being scared and more about an opportunity to shape something better.
Yeah, I agree. It really does. It puts the power back in our hands, you know? And I think that's like a really important takeaway for everyone listening. This isn't about like passively waiting to see what happens. It's about actively participating in creating the future that we want.
So let's talk about that. What role do you want to play in shaping this future of work? What steps can you take right now to really elevate your own human potential and contribute to that more positive future?
Well, I think one thing that's really clear from all these resources is that like you got to take ownership of your own development. Don't just like sit around and wait for your company to offer training or for someone to, tell you what to learn. Be proactive. Do your own research and figure out what skills you need. Start building those skills now.
I love that. And the good news is there are so many resources out there. You can find courses, workshops, even, whole degree programs online, all designed to help you stay ahead of the curve. There's no reason not to take charge of your learning.
Totally. And don't forget about networking. Connect with people in your field. Go to industry events, even if they're virtual, and participate in online communities. Sharing those ideas and experiences with others is a really great way to learn faster and find new opportunities.
It's all about those human connections, even in digital world. And speaking of human connections, let's talk about those essential human skills that we've mentioned. Communication, collaboration, critical thinking, emotional intelligence. Even with all this amazing technology, those skills are only becoming more important, right?
They are, absolutely. Those are the skills that let us connect with other people, understand their needs, build trust, and actually work together towards shared goals. There's no algorithm for that.
Right. So don't get so caught up in learning the latest like tech tools that you forget about those foundational skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the keys to unlocking your potential and making a real impact on the world.
Right. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things. Get outside of your comfort zone a little bit. This future of work is all about being adaptable and constantly evolving. So embrace the learning process, the challenges, and all those opportunities to really make a difference.
Yeah. And these resources that we've been talking about are a really good place to start. But your own curiosity and willingness to explore, those are what will make you stand out. What skills can you bring to the table? What kind of impact do you want to make? Those are the questions to ask yourself.
Exactly. And remember, this isn't about turning into some sort of superhuman. It's about embracing your humanity, figuring out how to use technology to, enhance your strengths and using your talents to create a fulfilling career.
Yeah, the future of work is exciting, it's challenging, but it's full of possibility. By following the ideas we've talked about today, you can not only survive these changes, but you can really thrive. So go out there, elevate your potential, and help us build a future where humanity truly is elevated.
Well said. It's been great talking about all this with you.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.